This is We Are What We Overcome. What you're about to hear are the ramblings and reflections of three ordinary people, drawing on their own personal and occasionally professional experiences. These conversations are unprepared, subjective, and should not be taken as medical advice or instruction. Anyone seeking help should always carry out their own research, or better yet, speak to a professional about their circumstances.
We're just going to have a bit of a pause and then go.
You could do the countdown that I try and do.
Yeah.
For Rose.
Oh, we got a clacker, man.
So yeah, we take one of the only take that we're not going to do it again.
Take zero then.
Take
Am
zero.
I just talking straight after this?
Take alpha.
I'll do a thumbs up.
Right.
Stuff. So yeah.
You do that.
We Are What We Overcome on this occasion features musician Matt McGuinness, improviser Nick Tyler, and psychotherapist Wes Evans. Sit back, enjoy, and remember, it's good to talk.
Hello and welcome to We Are What We Overcome, the podcast, where a group of friends get together and talk about mental health. And today we're talking about time. And something I was very aware of this morning, planning my trip down to lovely Nottingham. But we always start with a check-in, so let's do that. So how are you, Nick?
I'm quite well. I'm excited to have you guys here in the thing that I moaned about through all of lockdown being built. Mm-hmm. Our library.
Quite frankly, got sick of hearing about it.
I got sick of living it, so that fits quite well. I'm pretty well actually. I'm engaged in a lot of creative activities at the moment, which is very good, and sorting my brain out. Writing every morning is really good. I feel bits of my head waking up in a way that I haven't done for a while, and so I feel very engaged and enthused and a little bit silly.
That does sound good.
What about you, Matt? How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I had a good evening last night. Walking around town with the six-piece brass band and a ringmaster, which sounds a bit weird now you say it. But it was great, actually. So,
Is that the video you were just showing us?
Yeah.
Still buzzing off the sousaphone.
Yes.
An
I'm still
instrument made
tired.
out of a bath.
That is how they're made.
So what do we think of when we think of time? I know that...
How are you? We're not skipping that.
Maybe.
There's no time! There's no time!
Aren't you here for a 10-year anniversary of becoming a therapist?
I am,
Do you
actually,
think
yeah.
he was trying to hide,
So I'm
telling
very
us how he
conscious
feels
of
then?
time.
Just move on.
Yeah.
Actually, do you know what? No, I'm not. I'm in a very good place. Just yesterday, literally yesterday, I thought, do you know what? I feel really good today. Which kind of highlights that on other days I'm probably not feeling 100%, actually. And I don't think I'm always as conscious of it as I should be. And maybe that's because I'm getting wrapped up in what I'm doing and maybe don't have enough time to check in with myself or make the time to check in with myself.
Are we going to do a word count on this one? How many times you said the word time?
We should.
Oh, God.
Yeah, sweeps at home.
Neil, you've got to count the number of times that we say time in this podcast now.
I think we should win something. I'm going to go for 37.
Oh, that's way too low. I
37?
think we've already
Be
done
like
that.
450 plus.
Okay, what you
Oh,
got?
I'm going to go less than that, then I'm going to punt on that. I was just say 350, however many days there are in a year.
I'm going to close this with 2 minutes of saying the word time repeated over and over again. That'll be it, because we'll know how much time we have left. I thought your reflection about not being sure whether or not you were okay on a previous day, and suddenly learning that, oh, I'm happy now, which means I haven't been happy in the past. I like that as an introduction to the idea of yourself through time and trying to track your own mental health progress, which I haven't done for a long time. But was certainly
It's going to trigger me every time. It's going to trigger me every time, is what I say.
But it was certainly a core part of being in counselling, was they would give you a diary to fill in every day. You know, are you 1 to 10 on a whole bunch of weird topics and things like that. From how happy do you feel to how likely are you to end yourself, which is a cracking way to start the day, but really
That's
useful.
really strangely worded psychological objective.
I may be paraphrasing.
Yeah. There's something there about measure as well, which is a bit related to time, measure and all of that. But I suppose I should also say it was less about happiness and more just about kind of wellness, contentness, and space. I think something I've been thinking about a lot for myself at the moment, about kind of headspace and how I'm kind of navigating through things. But yeah, quite interesting that it took this optimal day to highlight that other days weren't quite as optimal or something.
Yeah, I think your mentioning of space is intrinsically related to time, isn't it? You only that sense of space around you, I find, comes from when you don't have too many things to do. When there isn't a thousand things clamouring for your attention, you're like, whew, I don't have to do anything right now, and my head isn't full of all the extra projects and stuff being crammed in, and suddenly become aware of yourself as like a point in the universe rather than just part of this stream being dragged on inexorably.
We did say that this was going to get quite deep and philosophical.
I know that you were resisting
You're supposed
it,
to say a word.
Tits.
That was it,
God's
yeah.
sake.
Anytime it gets a bit metaphysical.
We should do a
I was
word
resisting
count
the
on
urge
tits
all
as
the
well.
way through that to just go, the beginning of space and time, and just something like that. But what time as a topic, what kind of things conjured up? I know I had a few kind of directions in my mind that it went. Of course, this is about mental health. So we're thinking about how time affects our mental health in one way or another.
I always like to think of, we're going to go philosophical again because I like that.
Get ready to say tits.
Oh, sorry, mate, you already look sad.
On the tip of my tongue.
The idea like persistence of self, I still find fascinating as an idea that is the me who went through stuff years ago, the same me that I am now. Because that's all tied up with memory, and memories is just a sense of yourself through time or at different snapshots. That always jumps to mind whenever we talk about time.
I was thinking about it the other day when I was writing some stuff about the me prior to having children and what I used to do with my time then, you know, which is pretty much going out and stuff, you know, and women. That was you know, that was it really. I think. Yeah.
Wow.
And then sort of now, and I was thinking what that person would look at me now, which is most of the time I spent working, and it is going out, but it's, you know, it's meeting friends, and obviously got 3 kids, and that sort of, it came from that line about stepping over the line or crossing the line, that it's a negative thing, isn't it? Like you've done something that's not acceptable, and whether the younger me would find me now not acceptable because I've got rid of all that sort of partying and going out. And
Would he find you unacceptable?
what have he done to my life?
Sure,
you know?
but similarly, what do you think of him? You know, was he just pissing it all away, dicking around? He could have had 3 kids and never gone out again.
Yeah, it was quite a good time, I guess, wasn't it? But I mean, it's like last night when I was out and I was walking into bars and not having anything to drink and working constantly. And I was thinking, after 10 o'clock, I'd be home by now. What am I doing? And actually, but I quite like that. I quite like the fact of having that time in the evening when I get home, and I've helped you there.
We've said time so many times already, haven't we?
I'm definitely winning this.
You are. But you know, that's really important to me. You know, it's whereas probably playing pool in the local would have been that thing.
Does the contrast between those 2 versions of yourself, like across time, make it better that you are who you are now? Does having once been a layabout wastrel improves? Yeah. Oh, it's a horrible thought. Yeah. Was being one of the lads something that made you who you are now?
Yeah, but I don't think I was ever one of the lads.
No.
Never in that frame. I suppose specifically I was, but anyway. Yeah, well, you can't be who you are now without what you were in the past, can you? It's, someone was talking on the radio on the way in, actually, about how that concept of if I'd done this, if I'd done that, I could have changed that. Or
Like a sliding doors kind of
yeah,
thing.
there was some things about history about some really famous people, if they'd done this and that wouldn't have happened. And it made him think about all of the things he'd done in his life. And then he just suddenly realised he should be, what he's got now, none of it, he might have had none of it if he'd just gone that way anyway. So it's waste of time, isn't it?
I guess so. Well, and everything we are now is because of everything we've already done, I suppose. You can't really slice out big chunks of that without changing who you are significantly.
Well, and we are who we are because of everything we've experienced. I mean, that's up for debate by some people. But there's something about what you're saying, though, about how you spend time and how your relationship with that's changed over time. I'm aware of the amount of times that I'm saying time.
Yeah, yes, I know, it's nightmarish now. It makes you think of, do you ever feel that you're wasting time? You know how people always just tell you when you're a kid, you're like, oh, you're just wasting time. When you're like, you know, staring into the sandpit, whatever it was that you did as kids. Different childhoods, I'm sure. That's the thing that you're doing is a waste of your time because you're,
No,
I don't know, kicking
that's,
a ball
that's
around.
the difference, actually. There is nothing now I could say that is a waste of time.
Oh,
Especially if you subscribe to the idea that everything we do contributes towards like who we are and where we've ended up, then surely it's all crucial, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
It's all
But do you ever
meaningful.
Yeah, but do you ever like have a moment and say, like, oh my god, I've just wasted an hour doing absolutely nothing of value.
That's what Christmas is for, isn't it? To waste time doing stuff.
To waste your money on happiness.
Well,
Waste time with relatives.
you're touching upon another thing there of like,
What's your time worth?
yes, exactly, and like, and so we were talking about it just before we started recording, weren't we? About how this has the potential to get really deep about what even is time, and it's a man-made construct and all of this kind of stuff. But there is something in that I think there's something about feeling the pressure to use time well, like you were just saying, or how much time have I got left, which is quite existential. But even day to day, kind of, I've got to do this in this amount of time. All of that I can see pressing against kind of mental health in one way or another.
Do you know one thing I've learned, and I think I've probably brought up a number of times before, is that when I do feel awful, that time for me and its importance just goes completely out the window. I just I've sod it, and it doesn't really, everything else doesn't matter. You just got to, for me, I've just got to settle into that moment and not worry about 3 o'clock or 6 o'clock.
So sometimes letting go of concepts around time can be necessary.
Yeah, and I do feel fortunate that I can actually do that. I mean, there's lots of people, and there are some times that doesn't count.
That's plural.
When you
there's
can't,
the odd
you can't
time.
do it. We're going to cut loads of this stuff out so it equals 37 by the way.
The podcast will last 2 minutes.
But there are times when I can't do that, and I'm sure for other people that it's almost feels like a luxury, isn't it, to be able to.
That makes sense. I mean, I've experienced time slipping away or becoming, I don't know what Marin describes as being like elastic time, like in times of grief or real emotional distress. Time speeds up and slows down. You don't know. I couldn't tell whether it had passed. And you look up and it's like, oh, I guess I've been lying in this bed for like an hour or so. Nope, that's 9 hours. You're like, cool. That's a day I'm not getting back, and I have no real recollection of. And that was a very strong feeling of time. Not losing, not ignoring time, but it losing meaning. You know, it's truly perceiving it differently from how we would do when you're saying 8 o'clock, I guess.
Both of those things remind me of something I was thinking about this as well, is that sometimes, I don't know whether that counts or not, sometimes on occasion if we're struggling for whatever reason, or maybe if someone is suffering with a mental health condition of some kind, that there are quite a few instances where you can struggle more with the concept of time, or, experience time blindness, or struggle with kind of keeping appointments, or being aware of time and stuff like that. And you were talking about it from the angle of, I just stopped thinking about it, almost like it was a luxury to be able to do that. You know?
Well, it is, isn't it?
I'm sure some people's experience is that it's a frustration that I'm losing sense of time or something.
Well, yeah, because time keeps you on track, doesn't it? In a sense, if you're someone who responds well to schedule and structure, having that time, knowing that you're going to get up at whatever time, you got the block of 4 hours, you're doing something or something else, and you got a thing in the evening. That, I mean, I've always found structure to be useful, and structure is integrated in time. Yeah. You can't do structure without time. Otherwise, you can do a thing for a while, and then do another thing for a bit, and that doesn't really work. And so
do it until the sun is at a certain height.
Yes,
maybe that's how we used to do it.
Well, that was slow time, wasn't it? When it didn't matter, it's like you couldn't say at 2 o'clock I need you to be, I don't know, punching a goat or whatever it is that you do in the countryside. Perfectly normal.
Whatever you do at the countryside.
Yeah,
at 2 o'clock.
I think what he's saying is when times were a bit more basic, and we didn't have clocks and we measured by the sun.
I live in a house.
That's the kind of things we did. We punched goats.
Did they punch someone to show that it was 2 o'clock?
It's the sun's just about there. It's goat punching time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's very hard to measure time precisely. You wouldn't know when you had to go punch a goat. And
that's where time was created. So hold on, we need a system. We need to know exactly when this goat needs punching.
Yeah.
Maybe we should split it up into units of some kind.
I realise that other people use the metaphor of the railways for that. But no, I'm going to stick with the goat.
I like the goats better.
That must have been...
Goats are more reliable than trains.
Yeah. Yeah, train's going to hurt. I mean, a goat,
when it shows up.
That's true.
Especially if it punches you back, you've had it.
I mean, because the goat's going to come for you.
Oh, there's a joke here about train strikes, isn't there? There's definitely a joke about train strikes.
You know what? Every single train strike that's been recently has meant that the trains that were delayed were ones that I was able to catch and get to where I needed to go sooner.
So you benefited from someone else's
Yeah, absolutely.
lateness.
This is ridiculous. But I was just thinking about how things are different if you don't have something. Like, I don't wear a watch purposely because I hated that feeling of looking at a watch.
Yeah, we were just talking about this, weren't we? And, mine's never charged, so it's pointless
I
wearing
wear it that way so you can see it all the time.
Ah,
Ooh.
but
That's a polite
So you're
vision.
quite consciously aware of time generally day to day.
yeah, well, I feel like I've got a good sense of how long things take. If
Do you pay
if I'm
attention
well.
to things, and are you driven by schedules and times and things?
I mean, they insist that we start work sometime in the morning.
That's true.
Yeah, and continue until later in the day. But it doesn't intrude too much because I don't have to be in an office currently, so I'm a little freer.
He's being careful what he says here, just in case his employer listens to the
That's
podcast.
true.
Highly unlikely.
Please don't make us go.
That's true.
Yeah, you won't make yourself go.
I'm
back
sure
to
your
office.
employer is not one of our 5 listeners.
Probably not. No, it'll be fine. But I feel like I've got a good sense of how long things take, and some of that's from being, on stage. Yeah, I've got a decent sense of like how long 5 minutes, half an hour are when you're on stage, and I think that translates quite well into the rest of life because we're trained through most of the things that we do to know how long half an hour are, because that's the length of most television programs. And so that's kind of scored into your brain. This is how long it takes to tell a chunk of a story. And since our whole lives are just stories we tell ourselves about ourselves, then I think we can probably mentally divide our day up into like a very long running and somewhat tedious television show.
Like the Truman Show.
Yes, but
Do you think you've got-
so much more boring.
Do you think you got more relaxed as you got older? The sort of the time and the importance of things based around what time it is just not that important anymore.
This is why I was asking, how do you experience time and think about time and stuff? Because if I reflect for myself, I can probably just look back and think that all I really have done most of the time is fill time. And that's not so much I've been clock watching as such. I just feel like I'm constantly going from one thing to another, to another, to another. And that also makes me think about that time flies kind of expression, that when you're so kind of engaged and active and moving around and everything else, that time does seem to go faster, doesn't it?
Yes, and that's really weird. It's almost like when you're enjoying yourself, you're pissing your life away all the faster. So what you should do is have a slow,
It's just like
grim,
a miserable kind of
existence.
existence.
Yeah, because then it'll last
So then
longer.
you'll value every minute.
That's right.
Or
yeah.
at least experience
Yeah,
every
so
minute.
you suffer every minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Become a
It's strange.
vegetarian.
Aw. Yeah, terrible human.
I don't get the link, but
No.
What? It's that whole joke, isn't it, about you shouldn't eat this, shouldn't eat that, shouldn't drink that. You won't live longer. It'll just feel like it. That kind of
right.
thing.
Oh yeah, no, I can appreciate that.
So
It's not about
we've
meat.
probably offended vegetarians twice.
You're
First
right, Matt.
talking about punching guts, and
What you're asking about, does time matter more to me now or less? My life now is less regulated by time than it was when I was a kid. Because of course, when you're a kid, you're like, you got to get up now, you got to get to school now, your classes end in an hour, you got 10 minutes to stand outside freezing your ass off, then you have to go and do something miserable like maths for an hour. That was all very closely regimented, and the older I've gotten, the less that's been true. You get to A levels, whatever, there's fewer things, you got more time between where you decide what you're doing with the time. University, just a free for all, and then work reintroduced bits of that. But at the moment, no, it's you got to do a thing in the middle of the day, which is loosely described as work, and then the rest of it, do what you like. So in time sense, I've never been freer. But I think from what we've just been talking about, I'm probably more carefully dividing my time in my free time than I have done before. So I've been writing, I'm going to do an hour writing.
yeah. So
I'm
you
gonna
were
do
talking about kind of
2,000
being
words in an
selective
hour.
with your time,
Yeah.
I suppose, aren't you? Wanting to kind of have meaningful slots of time in every day.
Yeah, I mean, I'll still piss away 45 minutes playing Candy Crush. I feel like if I'm choosing to do a thing, maybe I'm setting a time limit on that. And then the bits in between, or whatever. But since I'm not looking at my watch anyway, who knows how long those things are.
So there's a little bit about ignorance is bliss in some of this. There's a little bit
Oh, yeah.
about how we're spending time.
The dumber I get, the happier I am.
I suppose I'm just thinking about mental health in the middle of all of this a little bit more again.
Well, yeah, I think about like when time makes you anxious. Yeah, I don't.
When do we imagine, or when does time make you anxious or people anxious?
Well, I've got to be somewhere,
Yeah.
and I either haven't thought about how I'm going to get there.
So time can create pressure, can't it?
Yeah, it does.
Or stress.
The only thing is getting the kids to school in the morning is the only pressure. I mean, I suppose it's when you work for yourself, it's a bit more flexible, isn't it?
Also, you just told us about a whole day last week where you turned up late for every single meeting that you went to.
And then
didn't
left
appear
early
to-
from
yeah,
it.
left
and
early.
still was late for
Still
the
late,
next bit,
and
which
didn't
was
appear to
amazing.
care. Yeah.
I was able to share more love with more people. That's how I do it.
That was really nice, but then also quite creepy at the
Yeah,
same
yeah,
time.
yeah. And they had to wait for you to show up so
Nice
that you
and
could
creepy.
do that.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
I can't.
Quite a paradox.
Like Santa creepy.
Ah,
You know, he seems loving, but he does break into your house.
Oh Jesus!
ruined the last
It also
thread
breaks
of
into your house.
Christmas that was nice for me.
Well, that's good. I
Now
thought we
it's
did enough
gone.
of that last year.
Totally gone.
Good. I'm glad. But yeah, the fear of being late and whatever weird judgment comes with that. Even if it's no one else's judgment. Even if it's like, I don't want to be late to a film
But
at cinema.
isn't that
It
just
doesn't
being,
matter.
Isn't
Well,
that
there's a
just being comfortable
societal
with yourself?
judgment as well, isn't it?
Isn't that just feeling a bit more comfortable with yourself that if you are late, then
Perhaps. There's another angle to consider here.
There's like respect for the people that you're meeting. I'm still bothered by his whole day where he just turned up late.
Yeah,
to
it's
everything.
really.
Did you let
peed
them know
off.
in advance? Did you?
It's
let...
really ticked you
Yeah, it
off,
has to,
hasn't it?
Did you let them know? Did you?
Did
Or
I,
did you just
I
like?
was late for every meeting. Did I let them know in advance?
Yeah.
This
Oh,
is-
no.
I'm going to be late.
Well,
Yes.
wait,
No.
you know that you're going to be late.
I didn't purposely be
No,
late.
he's not paying attention to time,
Oh,
is it?
for God's sake. You know, like, I'm going to be 10 minutes late. Sorry, guys. So you sort of
Oh,
kick the door in and they're like, in the
I'm
middle of it's
here.
like, oh, well, you're welcome.
I have arrived.
Oh, you're a monster. I'm
I
horrified.
should do that. I should take some kind of device to play music at the
Yeah,
same
like
time.
da-da-da-da kind of thing.
I'm not going to book any
The
meetings
meeting
with
may
you.
start.
It's Matt's time.
It's the worst possible time.
I want to bring in another angle
Mm.
before we run out of time. Time of year, time of day,
Mm.
season, whatever, or even anniversaries,
Mhm.
certain times and things, and the different impacts that can have.
Ooh.
What do you
That
think
Yeah,
whole
about that one?
season thing's a whole different topic.
because we have just
Well,
returned to proper
it
time,
is,
haven't
but I
we?
still
Mm.
feel it's like a little bit related to time, isn't it?
It is, because we're back to real time now, aren't we? We're out of that nonsense of bit of British summertime. And yet, it's the whole falling back, like clawing back that hour. I absolutely hate that every year. I find it utterly ghastly. It's like, cool, now we get up in the dark, and in a week's time,
Well,
we'll
that's
also
it.
go
Some,
to bed in the...
some people are very affected by certain times of year, aren't they? Like, so.
Yeah, I don't get like seasonal. I don't get seasonal children depressed. It just makes me really angry, because time, granted, is arbitrary, and we've laid like this structure over that we stick to, and then twice a year we just
It's
fuck
dark
with
and
it.
the cold.
Oh, you mean with the changing of the clocks?
Yeah, I don't.
So it pisses you off when you have to claw back an hour. Is that what you say? When
Yeah.
an hour is taken away
You
from
get
us.
angry by lots of things.
He is,
isn't
isn't
I
it?
do get angry. I get angry about things that are properly not important. Because that's better than being angry at real things.
I quite like the winter when it changes and it gets dark.
Do you?
But it's going to get darker anyway.
No, but
Every day.
It does get darker. That's called winter. You don't need to add to it by flinging an hour in.
Oh, he's really pissed off about this.
No, you've vexed me now.
A
Mm.
friend of mine, son,
Please
but he said
continue.
he likes the winter like that because you get to wear better coats. And I think that's a good perception. Isn't it? That's
I love that.
Nice.
That's a great reason. Well,
It's a pretty good way to look at it. to be fair,
it's
isn't
true.
it?
I haven't worn a coat yet this year, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
It's going to be. I've started wearing proper shoes.
His mood changes so quickly,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
It's
difficult.
probably a good thing, right? Stable. Everything's fine.
Can we go yet?
Is it time?
You're trapped in my house. Locked everything. Yeah, that wasn't good.
In this house, they don't use clocks. They just see what time it is based on Nick's mood.
He didn't even notice that I turned up late, did he?
He didn't, did he?
I was very fucking aware of it. Thank you very much.
I distracted him.
But I was politely not mentioning it.
Right, I'm off.
So you're not late for the
Yeah.
next thing.
No,
Yeah.
I just want to leave early.
Right.
But I mean, but you're right. It seems like it sort of really canes a whole bunch of people.
Yes, it
The
does.
lack,
Yeah.
it's the lack of daylight, isn't it? And I suppose it's because it feels, in part, like you have less time, as if your daylight hours are the only ones that really
Yeah, well,
matter.
and different times of year feel different, don't they?
Mm.
And even different times of day. Like, so there's another angle, like morning people, nighttime people, all that kind of stuff. Where do you two land with
I
that?
bet that's why I don't care about.
You're a morning person. aren't
No,
you?
no, I loathe mornings. Left to my own devices, I would sleep
He's
till.
not a morning, afternoon, or evening.
Yeah. Left to my own devices, I was like last week. I slept till like 12:30 on Monday just because I had the day off.
Lunchtime, half.
Again,
Yeah.
oh, you had the day off.
Yeah,
Good.
that's
I was
fine.
just going to say again, I hope your employer's not listening.
They were not pleased. No, I let them know afterwards. It's fine. Because So I told them I was going to be late.
That's all right. Then.
And
Hello, I'm going to be late. Fuck you.
people like to know. They would rather know than not know. Oh,
Surprise! People like surprises. And
we're going to have to argue about this.
Birthdays.
No.
We're joking about this, but even that, right? Some people are really kind of triggered and bothered by being late because of, about respect and things like that, maybe. But
So you
even
say
that
I shouldn't
boils
be
down
relaxed
to...
about being late?
Or
you're just jealous?
No. What I'm saying is, you shouldn't be late. I don't think you should have a mental attitude about, I'm going to be late, so maybe I'll be happy or sad. Just don't be late. Don't be late. It's not that hard.
Start this by saying that you're late quite often. Or that you are late.
Don't
And
think
it was only the bus strikes that say.
No,
Yeah.
he said that he would prefer to get there early, but the optimal thing
But
is
he
just to
can't
get
be
there
bothered.
just on time.
Yeah, I
He
don't,
said that's difficult.
I don't want to be late, and I don't want to get there so early that I'm waiting, because I don't like waiting.
Yeah.
So I've got to try and engineer it so I arrive bang on time, which
That's
Actually,
clear,
it seems that you do have quite a complicated relationship.
I
with
guess
time.
so. But only when there's a thing that has a time-related property.
Oh, well, that's all right then.
And I'm just oblivious to it because I'm just running around like a headless
Yeah.
chicken, just going. Oh,
You're just driven by time. Yeah, if it's sleeping, I don't care how long it's. I just want to sleep for as long as is humanly possible.
I've relaxed to meetings and I said I'll be at the meeting, but I don't know when I'll be there and I don't know what time I'm going to leave.
I think that would be worse, wouldn't it?
No, I think that would be better because at least
What, saying,
yeah,
listen, I don't know when I'm going to be there.
Because then everyone else goes, oh, well, it's Matt. He's being a dick. I guess we'll just do our thing and he'll rock up at some point. But at least they know that and they're not surprised
I
by
think
it.
they know that anyway.
I was going to say
Yeah,
they
they probably
probably
do.
just assume that, don't they?
Because no one likes a surprise. Like, surprise, I'm not going to do the thing I said
No
I'd
one
do.
likes a surprise.
Cool. Not that kind of surprise.
Do you like surprises?
Some. If it's like a nice thing. I don't want like a surprise murder.
Me telling a
That's
meeting
not
isn't a
great.
nice thing. That's a good
I
surprise.
thought it was nice to see you. I thought it was nice.
I don't like being. I mean, depends what you count as surprise. Being mugged is a surprise. Being hit by a car
More of a
is
shock.
also a
More of a
surprise.
shock than a surprise.
I guess it depends how
Oh,
bad
come
it
on!
is.
You're supposed to be a wordsmith, right? Let's look at the difference between shock and surprise.
Isn't shock how you
No
feel
one goes
about it
surprise.
afterwards.
Give me your fucking stuff. Sorry, are we
Is there
saying
else think
fuck?
we've moved off time?
I think we are clearly. Where were we? We were talking about mostly chastising Matt for being late for things and not apologising.
Well, all right. Let's regroup a little bit because we are coming to time soon.
Probably.
I sense. But we've talked about a few different angles, haven't we? We've talked about kind of use of time, time creating pressure,
Being comfortable with it.
being comfortable or uncomfortable with it, how some people are really kind of measuring all units and some not,
Yeah, look at him when you say that.
losing sense of time, the existential time, time
Change
of
of
day.
time in the year.
Yeah, so we've talked about a lot really. And this is us trying to legitimise this rambling shit show of a conversation. But
But I think you're right because time is. We're going to go philosophical again because time is an essential
Get ready to
property
say it.
of being alive. You know, you can't live without some degree of time. Time passes. We have a past that informs who we are. We look maybe to the future. We don't know how far that's going to be. So there's a natural tension anyway internally between I don't know when all of this is going to end. Do I need to cram things in before it ends, or is just the dawdling around, reading the odd book, sometimes looking out of a window, a sufficient way to spend the
You're
remainder
more
of my
likely
days?
to remember all the actual taking time out and reading a book than you are of those meetings or those things that you felt so important at the time.
That's true. Some things that we're forced to do by like the nature of our civilization that we live in aren't the things that we value, and that's quite a hard thing to then pass as being worth the time that we spend.
So let's wrap it up with this then. We can't offer kind of advice. I mean, we don't offer advice anyway, but sometimes we try to
Sum it up.
yeah, sum it up somehow, and maybe there's some nuggets for people to ponder. Maybe we should think about, for each of us, what is the best way in which we can what's the best way in which we relate to time for us, yeah? So for some people it's like, well, actually, if I make time to do this, or for some people I have to really be routine and structured and ordered, and that's levelling for me, etc., etc. Maybe we should finish on personal reflections of that nature.
So I think that we should all arrive at meetings late and leave early because then we'll all be on time and the meetings will be shorter.
Except
You won't be on time.
You weren't. You left early and were still late for the next thing for an entire day.
But if everyone did that, it would work.
Oh yeah, I see. Because then suddenly that would be.
We'd all arrive late, all leave
acceptable.
early, shorter
But then
meetings,
everyone-
more time to do our own things.
But then
and
ultimately
read
everyone
books.
just sets
So
their
you're
clock
kind
back
of-
by
yeah.
20 minutes.
It seems
and
that
then
you're
just
saying that
rearrange
if-
time.
It seems like you're saying if I'm less fixated on time, I have an easier time of things.
Yes.
Okay.
But isn't that because everyone else has time?
They
and you
adopt
just
your
don't?
stress.
Yeah, everyone else.
You're just passing your stress on to Nick. That's what you're doing.
I'm a direct victim of your lateness.
Maybe if I am passing stress on to people, if I'm there for a shorter amount of time, then I'm doing the good thing.
Less stressful than it would have been if you'd been there for the whole time?
Yeah.
Is that your suggestion?
That's my thing.
Cool.
Neil, are you going to count the times for us? That we really do need to know this.
From that face?
It's
No.
about
No.
30
I am going to do it. Don't worry. I mean, I don't think any of you are winning.
I feel like a winner.
Everyone loses in this situation, including me.
Everybody loses generally.
So have you got some reflections then?
Yeah, mine are going to be typically bleak, I think. Where necessary, I'm happy to be driven by the requirements of time because that provides structure. However, it reminds you that overall, I don't believe that existence has any purpose. So whatever you do with your time is fine. There's nothing that you're supposed to be doing with your time.
Yeah,
unless
that's
it's something
a
that
good
you want
message.
to be doing.
Without the
Yeah.
life is pointless angle. But
Yeah, if you want to sit under a table and do nothing for 60 years, cool. If you want to go and be the billionaire CEO of a company whose job is to go out and tank other companies, cool. That's great. But it doesn't. It only matters if it's okay with you, I guess. And part of being alive is reconciling to ourselves that we can't do everything, and you can either freak out that you haven't done a thing that someone suggested once that you should be doing, or you can take pleasure in what it is that you are doing and enjoy those things.
So you're saying you should relax into who you are, and if you want to arrive late at meetings and leave early, that's fine.
Or just sack it off and you'll be dead soon anyway. Yep, that works.
I suppose there's probably something beneficial for us all to be thinking about our relationship with time, isn't it? And I guess that's what this conversation is making me do. And so it wasn't until we were speaking about this that I did realise that actually a lot of the time I am just moving from one thing to another, and I'm consumed by that. So that does something to my sense of time and me savouring experiences, I think. It also reminds me of making time for, pleasurable things, nice things. I think that's probably something a lot of people can relate to, isn't there? Like, what do I divide my time onto? And maybe we didn't speak about that as much as we could have done.
Well, what I like about it is that we schedule in things that suck because that's work. Work is alongside schedule. It feels perverse to go, I'm going to schedule in an hour of being happy. But, if you have a TV schedule that you stick to, that you kind of are scheduling in that hour to watch the thing that makes you happy. But
it's a very common thing to talk about, not having enough time, isn't it? Or running out of time.
Yeah.
And maybe it boils down to what we do with time and where our priorities are and all of that kind of
That's a
stuff.
great thing to work with, though, for people to schedule time to do nothing.
Exactly, yeah.
It'd be great, wouldn't it?
And that's what I'm thinking about. Although I
just
do
do it
know
anyway.
that I find it difficult to do nothing.
But because you haven't scheduled it, it doesn't matter. It doesn't count in the same way.
You'd be late for it anyway.
Yeah, it's true.
So you should have planned. I should be planned to be late. Is what you
I try and have like half an hour up here just reading a book at the end of the night.
If you plan
That's
to be
nice.
late and schedule, okay,
I'll
right,
be later.
I've got to be here for 10, so actually I know that really I'll be there for 10:30. You would be later than
I'll be
10:30,
quarter
wouldn't you?
late, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That's why we tell our little brother to be hours or even days earlier than an event really is, and that's actually worked.
He ends up arriving
It's
on
the day
time.
before he arrived, the day after, and the day.
So it
the
might
day
not
of
be
it.
his fault, he might struggle with concept of time or time blindness. There might be a reason
Or maybe
for
he's
that.
just comfortable with himself and he's chill.
Or that, yeah.
If
Maybe,
he weren't
maybe he
my
just
little-
doesn't give a shit
It's
like
true.
Matt. Yeah.
If he weren't my little brother, I'd have more empathy for what the underlying cause might be. But since he is just my little brother, then he's just late and annoying.
Fair enough.
The underlying cause might be that he's happy. That's terrible.
Ooh. Yeah, you're not getting away with this.
We've got to give ourselves what we need, haven't we, to be happy. And however it affects Nick.
Sometimes that's just a bit more time.
Yo.
I feel like we said a lot about time, and I've now got 2 minutes of saying time to fit in.
Well, until next time.
I think we're done, boys. Lovely to chat.
Take care of yourselves. Nice to see you.
Good. Yeah, it's good.
Everyone at home, give us some more suggestions of how we can spend this time.
Book some time off.
Yeah.
I hope the time spent listening to this was a good use of your time.
And whatever you're doing, have a good time.
Exhausted with some great
If you've been affected by anything that we've talked about tonight, that's cool. We were kind of hoping you would be. If you haven't been affected by anything tonight, then that's great too. You're probably fine. Of course, if you say you're fine, there's a good chance you aren't. So you might also have been affected. And if you've been affected before, you probably will be again. please talk to someone. It can get better, and together we can survive. We are what we overcome.
This poor little boy, grounded by the sun, Baylor by his side for some big stride.